This is Dream Power Radio, the place where your dreams turn into reality. Here is your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network powered by Raven International. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, the Dream Coach. This is a show where we talk about dreams, both daytime and nighttime dreams, and how you can use them to make the internal shift to a life you love and rediscover the truth of who you really are. There are so many forces working against us in our quest to live the most powerful lives possible. I mean, turn on the TV and news about climate change, war, Supreme Court decisions, and the seemingly never-ending pandemic is enough to make you want to stay in bed all day with the covers over your head. Now, you may say, turn off your TV, but that's a subject for another show. In the meantime, let's talk about other factors, such as closer to home, where family, health, and work issues can bog you down and make you feel like you're living in a rut. But like regular listeners to this program know, often we can be our own worst enemies, stuck in a loop of negative thoughts and beliefs that keep us small and make us feel that we can never achieve our dreams. Well, my guest today, optimal health strategist Gunther Mueller, has worked for years to educate and inspire people to take charge of their lives. And he's dedicated to showing them how to create lives they love through the Magnetic Mind program. Welcome to Dream Power Radio, Gunther.
Hey, Debbie, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. And yes, I am all about teaching people how to create the life that they love, even in the midst of fear, uncertainty, and chaos that you mentioned earlier.
Yes. Well, tell me, what got you interested in wanting to help people live their powerful lives?
Well, I've been on that quest for truth all of my life, and I believe I've discovered how to manifest the reality that I love and desire. And so I'm all about sharing it with as many people as I can. My goal is to, affect 10 million people's lives potentially, to change their life destiny by inspiring them to take action, to do some simple, practical things that will literally leverage the quantum physical reality that we live in, and so that you can actually attract a different result into your, I think you call it your daytime life.
Yes, I tell you, that's wonderful. I mean, the whole idea of you inspiring, 10 million people, and then they go out and inspire 100 million people, I mean, whatever the exponential factor of that is.
Right.
And we have a different, hopefully better world that we live in. But tell me, what do you feel is the biggest impediment that keeps people stuck where they are?
The biggest impediment for sure is our own personal identity that we have crafted over our lifetime. I like to call it our life stream. From the time we came into the world, we got popped out of the womb, which kind of was like a Ritz-Carlton 5-star experience, right? We get popped out of the womb, and then we have to figure out what it's like here. We have to figure out what we need to do to get love, what we need to do to get food and shelter and acceptance and protection. And ever since that moment, that's what we've been doing. And we've been making decisions about how life is here. And some have gone through massive traumas, abuses, bad situations in life. Of course, there's been good things that have happened as well. But throughout that life stream, we have crafted an identity that has some self-sabotaging aspects to it. So this is sitting in the subconscious program. It runs completely unconsciously, kind of like Windows 10 runs your computer. You don't know how Windows 10 runs your computer, you just know that it does, and you use it for some productive purposes, but there's a code, and every once in a while there's an update that gets loaded down to that code. You restart your machine, and hopefully the machine runs a little bit smoother and a little bit better. That's exactly what we need to do in our subconscious to get a different result in our daytime reality.
I think you said that so well. And the truth is that so many people just go through their lives not even realizing any of this because it is in our subconscious and we're just not aware of it. So tell me, you are a proponent of something called the Magnetic Mind Method. I talked about it in the intro. So tell me, what is that?
So the magnetic mind method is a 5-step method that is very practical. And if we do it in repetition, you'll see that the results in your life change. And mainly what it's about stepping out of the problem-solving reality and taking what I'm going to call the creator stance, to remember your creative power. And your creative power starts with your ability to choose. If you think about your life, the only power that we really have in life is the power to choose. From the moment you wake up in the morning to the time you go to bed at night, you're choosing what time you wake up, what clothes you're going to wear, how you're going to get to work, what you're going to eat, all the different decisions that you make. And if you look back at your lifetime, you'll see that it's a perpetual progression of decisions that have gotten you into the present moment experience that you're in right now. So in effect, I can confidently say that you have created your current reality, this daytime dream reality that we're in. Maybe call it a holographic movie that you're experiencing. You're the producer, you're the director, you wrote the script, you handed everybody their parts, and the world is not happening to you. It's actually happening for you to reflect the identity that you have created throughout your life to this point.
Don't you think, though, that a lot of people get into this thing where even if they realize that they're making decisions, they kind of feel, well, I've made these decisions, I can't change them. I'm kind of stuck where I am.
So stuck is a good place. There's 3 places we can be. We can be stuck where nothing's changing and we feel like we made a decision and we can't change it. I'm just here to tell you that that's a false belief. You do have the power to change it. You can change it, although you may feel like you can't. You see, the truth is our thoughts and our feelings are not real. We create our thoughts, emotions, and our feelings. And if we really take that observer standpoint, we can see that they have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Our thoughts and our emotions, they kind of rise and then they fall and then they go away and a new one takes its place. So what I mean by the problem-solving reality is that from very young, we've been taught to solve problems in school, our parents, our society, and even our current goal-setting programs are set around solving a problem. So basically, when you decide that you want something, you set a goal, and then you immediately determine the 5, 6 to 10 steps that it's going to take to get that goal, and you put dates on it. And you make commitments, to achieve that goal. But what happens to most of us is the goal doesn't show up. And so we think to ourselves, well, that goal setting, it doesn't work, or at least it doesn't work for me. And so we give up or we quit, or then we confuse it with maybe, oh, I need to try something else, or I need to do something else. Most of the problem solving reality and pattern is that we jump from one thing to another. We try this, we try that for a little while, and we don't have this consistency. When we take the creator stance, what we're doing is choosing from a place of what we would love to experience versus solving a problem. Because when we focus on a problem, the problem continues to grow. So if we focus on things that we don't want to happen in our daytime reality, right, those things actually grow, and that's what we're manifesting. We need to step out of that, take the creator stance, choose to be creative, choose to choose what you would love to experience in your life for no other reason than you would love to have it. So if I asked you, Debbie, what would you love to create? And you would tell me something, and I would say, why do you want that? The answer I would be looking for as your coach is, I want it just because I want it. Not because it makes sense, not because it's rational, not because I can explain it or I can tell a story about it. I want it just because I want it. I want it because I would just love to experience it. That's the first step in the magnetic mind method, is to really have a true choice coming from a place of what you would just love to experience. And that happens in the world of money, love, health. Those are really the 3 buckets that most humans have desire in. They want more money, more love, more health, right? Just general terms. And in the human experience, we try to stay away from pain and we try to move towards pleasure. In the most simple terms, that's kind of our human experience.
Well, would you say it's also along the lines of it better for us to listen to our heart as opposed to listen to our mind? Because our mind will play tricks on us that will keep us in that stuck place?
Yeah, the mind that you're referring to that plays tricks on us is our conscious egoic mind. And the job of the egoic mind is to maintain the status quo. Its job comes from that reptilian brain that we've had for eons. It's designed to keep you safe. So when you set a goal or you want to venture out towards your desire, it's that reptilian brain, that egoic mind that says, hey, wait a second, why don't we just stay here where it's nice and safe? Even though it may be mediocre conditions, at least we know what we have here. So it's the job of that egoic mind to keep you where you are. And it takes about 3 positive messages to counteract 1 negative message in our mindset. All right. It's easy to be negative. And so it takes an extra effort to really bring this, I want to say, positivity of possibility into our awareness. And when we do that, that's when the things that we desire, the things that we would love to experience, actually become a possibility, not just in general, but a possibility for us individually. And then when we focus on what we want, we draw that possibility into our present moment experience. And one of the key things to understand about manifesting and creating that which you would love to experience, creating a life that you love, is that it's going to happen as soon as possible. You see, in our culture, we live in a microwave generation where we want instantaneous results. And when we don't get what we want right away, we move on to the next thing. The key here is to have some patience, to have some consistency, to maintain the focus, to be able to imagine and to visualize that which you would love to experience long enough so that that possibility can be drawn into your active, personal, daytime reality.
And how do we get that patience, or how do we keep that patience? Because when you're talking, I'm just thinking this requires focus, and people lose their focus so easily. How do you keep focus? How do you create that patience?
So it is a daily habit, right? What a journey of 1,000 steps begins with the first step. How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. The trick is just to take that bite every day, to refocus, to remind your superconscious being. So we have the conscious, we have the subconscious, and we have this thing called the superconscious. Some people call it their higher self. Some people call it the soul. Some people, there's a million names for it, right? But that's the aspect that I'm talking about. That highest part of you that knows who you are, knows everything that's ever happened in your life, understands, let's say, your soul destiny, what you're here to do, your purpose, your meaning, all of that stuff is known. We just don't know it and we don't remember it in our conscious day-to-day experience. So what you're speaking to is really creating a new habit in our lives of reminding ourselves about that which we would love to experience. That's why the choice is so important, because it can't just be a whim. It can't just be something that, oh yeah, that'd be cool. I'd love to have that. That'd be fine. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not a true choice. A true choice I'm talking about is something that you want more than anything else. And you don't change it every day. It's not like changing your underwear, okay? You keep it for a while until it shows up. You stay focused on that. You remind yourself every day. And that's why the 5 steps are easy to do. And you do them in repetition. And you have the intention that I will get what I want as soon as possible, as soon as the universe is able to create the circumstances, the conditions, the people, the opportunities that will manifest that experience that you desire in your life. So yes, it does require a little bit of patience. It does require consistency. And it does require a love for what it is you want.
We're going to take a short break now. We are speaking with Gunther Mueller, and we'll be right back. What do Thomas Jefferson, Elias Howe, and Paul McCartney have in common? They all understood the value of dreams, and as a result, the ideas, inventions, and creations from their dreams affect us to this day. What great ideas are you leaving on your pillow at night? Sign up for a complimentary consultation at my website, thedreamcoach.net, and discover why your dreams are a terrible thing to waste.
Welcome back to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman.
Yes, welcome back to Dream Power Radio. I'm your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman, and we're speaking about the magnetic mind method with Gunther Mueller. Well, Gunther, tell us about, you said there are 5 steps that we can use to make this work. So continue on.
So the first step, again, is getting that real true choice. And you know you're in a true choice when you can say, I want it just because I want it. I want it because I just love to experience it. The second step is to create a structural tension in the mind. The mind needs to resolve tension. So we're going to create a tension, which is just saying, what's it like now? We have this true choice, we have the desire, and we can see what that is or imagine what that is. And then we can look at the way it is now. So we create a contrast, not in a negative way, not in a judgmental way. You can still be content with the current reality. You can still be okay with the current reality, just looking at it and saying, look, what is just what is. It doesn't have to be bad. It doesn't have to be terrible. But in this present moment, you do have the power to choose something different. And notice I didn't say something better. I said something different because as soon as we say the future is going to be better than the present, we kind of anchor ourselves in the present. When we look at the future as just being a different experience than the present, we kind of let that energy off the now, off the current reality, and just allow it to be what it is. So the second step is just to notice, this is what I want, this is what I'd love to have, this is the way it is now. Then the third step is to really get into the emotion of the end result. We have to feel that true choice. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. They, want to build their businesses. And I say, why do you want to build the business? Well, because I want this huge house and I want to drive a Ferrari and I want to do this kind of thing. And I don't care about driving a Ferrari. I want to know what it feels like to drive a Ferrari. I want to know what it feels like to live in a 20,000 square foot house. I want to know what it feels like when you have freedom or abundance and things like that. So the third step is really getting into that emotion. And I want you to think about our Olympic athletes. They do more training in their mind because the mind does not know the difference between imagination, or even call it dreaming, right, versus reality. To the mind, dreaming and imagination is the same as reality. It sees it, feels it, experiences it exactly the same way. So Olympic athletes imagine themselves breaking a new world record. They imagine themselves on the gold medal podium receiving that medal and seeing the stand going nuts and the applause and seeing them beat their competitor by 1/100th of a second. This is imagined more than the work that they do. So we can do that as well. We get into the emotion of the end result, which is what is it going to feel like when I become that future version of myself, when I have that thing that I would just love to experience, what's it really going to feel like? And we get into that feeling. Then the fourth step, what we do in the magnetic mind method, is we do a recode. It takes about 15 minutes. Instead of attacking the subconscious mind from the conscious level, we go to the superconscious level, and this is where we download that update into the subconscious program. It takes about 15 minutes. As a coach, I go and speak with that subconscious version of yourself, and clients just feel like somebody's crawling around in their head a little bit. Maybe they see visions of the past or colors or something. It doesn't matter. You can't screw it up. You can't do it wrong. You don't have to be a spiritual person. You don't have to be an expert meditator or anything like that. You just calm down, notice where you are. I do the work on that part, and I do this recode where you actually feel a shift in that identity. And what we're shifting is really the sabotaging identities that exist in our subconscious program. And those identities sound like, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not capable, I'm not perfect, I don't belong, and a myriad of variations around those base thoughts that have come from decisions we've made about life. They no longer serve us where we are today. So when we shift the identity, we create a new possibility to experience something new in the waking world.
So when you say you do this recode, is that like hypnosis or kind of thing?
Totally conscious. You're not going to sleep. You're just going to hear me talk to your superconscious. So the fourth step is one where you might need a little bit of help in connecting with your superconscious side, asking for this recode into the subconscious program. And then the fifth step is, once we do that, we say, okay, what's the next obvious action that's in alignment with that true choice? Because this is where the law of attraction and the secret and, positive mental attitude and affirmations and things like that kind of drop the ball. We need to be in action. We need to take action towards that true choice. And it doesn't have to be a big action step. It just has to be a step that's in alignment with that true choice. It has to be an obvious movement or action towards that reality. And again, an example, like in health and vitality, people say, I want to experience health and vitality. An obvious action step might be to drink more water, just to hydrate more. It might be to eat less fast food and more natural, organic food. It may be to make a phone call to your doctor because you haven't had a medical appointment in 10 years. Small, obvious actions that move you towards that true end result and committing to take that action step.
And it's important to note that it doesn't have to be some great giant leap. It can be, what I like to call baby steps.
Yes.
Because one little step will lead to the next little step and the next little step. That's basically what you're saying.
Yeah. And that's how to answer your earlier question, this is how you build up, let's say, the perseverance or the persistence or the patience. You become okay with taking small steps to your true choice, to your true end result. And experience the journey. Be okay with the progression of your life. A lot of us, we're so microwave in our thinking that, we want it all now. And the truth is, it doesn't work that way. You need to have a contentment and basically a love for the journey, the experience of getting there. What human people really, really enjoy is actually the experience of progress. How many times have you chosen something or achieved success or achieved something and you get there and you're like, is this all there is? I got this thing, right? You buy a new car, maybe you're excited for 2-3 days or something like that. And you're like,
doesn't that also get down to the why you wanted it in the first place?
Yeah. So having some purpose and having a why. And again, the why can be, I want it just because I want it. I want it because I would just love to experience. The purpose comes through in more of an orientational true choice, which is like, I choose to live my nature and purpose, my true nature and purpose. I just choose to live my life that way. And I choose to live the life that I love. I choose to be the predominant creative force in my life. I choose to be healthy and vital versus coming from a problem-solving reality, let's say in the health space again, where you say, I got to beat cancer, or I have to beat Alzheimer's and dementia, or I have to beat cardiovascular disease, or I have to solve this problem. It's very different to back out of that and just say, look, I choose infinite optimal health. I choose to experience vitality and feeling amazing in my body. And then letting the universe, letting that quantum physical field bring the solution, bring the opportunity. You don't have to figure it out in every step. Things will show up for you. And this is what I mean by creating the life you love. It's all comprehensive. When you learn to do these 5 steps and you do them regularly, getting into that true choice, you're seeing what it feels like to be there. You're creating that structural tension between what I'd love to have and the way it is now. And if you do that on a regular basis, you will see that your life will transform.
So I just want to go back to something you just said. So you can use this method to actually get healthier?
Yes. See, in the field of infinite possibilities, your optimal health is a possibility, right?
Right.
So focusing on that possibility instead of the reality that you're not optimally healthy right now, or that you're sick or suffering from some illness, when you focus on that, you're giving that the energy. That's what's growing. That's the reality that is being maintained. When you change your focus, not trying to solve that problem, it's the current reality. It's just what is now. This is the experience I'm having. I'm having the experience of some illness or some health problem, but I choose to focus on being this infinitely vibrant, healthy individual. That's what I would love to experience. That's what I'd love to have. And the biology, the cellular structure, our physiology responds to that focus. All right. There are all kinds of stories about miraculous healings. One day somebody has a PET scan and they have cancer. The next day they do the PET scan, they don't have cancer anymore. Okay. There's all kinds of stories out there around that. Now, there's going to be some skeptics that don't believe this, and that's okay. I just ask you to put your skepticism on the shelf for a second and invite the idea that maybe it's possible for you. Just even cracking the door that much and allowing it to potentially be a possibility for you is moving in the right direction.
Well, Gunther, I always like the idea of examples. So do you have an example of somebody you've helped who was able to do this?
Well, the example that we have in our magnetic mind world is somebody that actually restored their eyesight. They did not work with me personally. They worked with my mentor in this area. And after several years of engaging in the magnetic mind work, actually restored their eyesight. There's another client that after a lengthy time of engaging in this work, was able to get out of a wheelchair. I don't have every specific detail around what illness they were suffering from, and I'm in no way making a claim that there's any kind of a direct health benefit of this. It's the larger picture of creating a life that you love, and optimal health is, of course, a part of living a life that you love. Because if you don't have your health and your body's not functioning properly and you can't do the things that you want to do, it's probably not going to be that life that you love.
I want to get back to this whole question of focus, though, because I know so many people just can't find their focus. And in particular, let's say you're working on this program and all of a sudden something very unexpected happens. Like maybe you're hit with a sudden illness, or maybe there's something happens like a natural disaster affects you. How do you keep that focus and stay on track?
So, as I said earlier at the beginning of the show, to create a life you love, even in the midst of fear, uncertainty, and chaos, and call them, black swan events that were unexpected, right? Just because something is affecting everyone else, and this is why watching the news is not good medicine for you, because it is that negative stream of information and it builds the fear, it builds the anxiety, it builds depression. Because it limits your choice. You think this is happening to everyone, therefore it has to happen to me. But you can walk through the midst of chaos and have it not affect you, okay? By choice. Again, your power is to choose the experience that you would love to have. And when you craft that in your mind, now this takes a little bit of practice. I'm not saying that everybody can do this on day one. And this is why it helps to have someone in your life, a coach of some level to, meet with and have to remind you of this creator stance. Instead of the problem-solving stance, we need to create a new habit where we stand in the creator stance. That's how you get through that, right? So when something surprising happens to you, you have to remind yourself that you are the predominant creative force in your life. And this is just the way it is now. This is just the current experience. It's not going to last forever. At least it's not going to last forever for me. It may last for a long time for other people. Okay, but I choose to create my reality. I choose to have a different experience, and I'm going to focus on that which I want, not that which I do not want. Our natural tendency is to focus on what we don't want, which is why we get what we don't want. When we focus on what we do want in all of its clarity and the emotion, and we get into that end result of what it's going to feel like, we are drawing that possibility into our, active experience. And this is not my opinion. This is based on 40, 50 years of science. If you read Joe Dispenza's work, Greg Braden's work, Bruce Lipton's work, Lynn McTaggart, who wrote the book, The Field, there have been so many experiments done on this. The power of our mind, the power of our imagination. And, what I'm excited to share with people is really, you can read a lot of those things and not know how to apply it to your life. And knowledge is great, but the power is in knowledge actually applied. So getting practical and actually producing the results that you want in your life as soon as possible. I'm not saying tomorrow, it's going to take a little bit of time. So as soon as possible, you can craft and attract this life that you love. But step number one, you got to know what you want. You have to know what you want.
Well, Gunther, I have so many more questions to ask you about this, but we're almost out of time. I just have one final question, which is how can people find out more about you and the magnetic mind method?
Yeah, I love it. So the best place to go is dreamlifemasters.com with an S. Dreamlifemasters.com. I have some complimentary materials on there. Download a morning ritual to kind of get you started in this direction, things to think about, how to make these true choices and decide on some action steps that lead you in the right direction. There's also a place where you can join one of my webinars where I go more into the science and I go into deeper detail around how this all works. And then if anybody's really resonated with this conversation today and would love to experience a recode session with me personally, one-on-one, they can go to questforthequan.com, QUESTFORTHEQUAN, questforthequan.com. And I have a special offer there for people to spend an hour, hour and a half with me and actually go through the 5 steps, do a recode session, and actually feel that identity shift for themselves. So love to help anybody actually experience this for themselves.
Oh, well, Gunther, thank you so much for being on Dream Power Radio today.
Thank you.
We've been speaking about creating your most powerful self with optimal health strategist, Gunther Mueller. Hope you've enjoyed today's program. If you have, please tell all your friends, follow me, and drop a positive review on your podcast site. Until next time, this is Debbie Spector-Weissman saying, sweet dreams, everybody.
You've been listening to Dream Power Radio with your host, Debbie Spector-Weissman. For more information on Debbie or to sign up for her newsletter, go to dreampowerradio.com. This has been Dream Power Radio on the amazing Women and Men of Power Network, the world's leading positive programming network, powered by Raven International.